And we're live.
Well, hello, Mesa Public Schools community. My name is Andy Forlis, and I am the very proud superintendent of this amazing school district. Thank you for joining us for our Safe, Strong, Ready Facebook Live series that we began earlier this year. We have an exciting couple of topics that we're going to be talking about this afternoon. Uh, we know that we have got to be thinking about what the future of Mesa Public Schools looks like. And so we have a huge commitment to looking onward. And that means that we are thinking about the future of programs and buildings within our very large and very diverse school district. So I have two guests with me this afternoon, Mr. Scott Thompson. Scott Thompson is our Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations. He is leading a tremendous amount of work on master planning, talking about and thinking about what will our facilities look like as we move into the future. And then Dr. Mallerwein is our area assistant superintendent who supervises the schools in the Red Mountain Skyline area, and he's leading a task force that is looking at the educational programming for the future. And so the two of them are working hand in hand and will be providing updates to our community around what this work is going to look like. But before we get started, I would like to share with you some of the current programs that we have that are really successful in Mesa Public Schools. So Cody, if you wouldn't mind sharing our enroll website, would be great. All right, Cody, here we go. All right. So we're going to be sharing a lot of information with you, and you're probably going to be thinking, oh my goodness, I wish I had a piece of paper. I wish I could write all of this down. You don't need to worry about that. If you go to our enroll page on our Mesa Public School website, you will be able to see what it takes to enroll. That was the topic of one of our most recent Facebook Live sessions. But I also want you to see all of the different programs that we have because we have a goal of creating choice within Mesa Public Schools. So when you look on the right hand side, you will see that we have advanced placement capstone diploma program at Dobson, Red Mountain, and Red Mountain High Schools. You will also see that we are an AVID district, and AVID is advancement via individual determination. It is a systematic approach of building a culture that leads to college going and knowing skills so that our kids are very prepared to take advanced honors and advanced coursework in high school and that they graduate ready for college. That is what we call our AVID schools. We also have a plethora of career tech education certification programs. And that is a bit, and we have CTE, we call that the acronym of CTE, is available at all of our high schools as well as our junior highs. We have dual language immersion with a focus on Spanish. That is at Hermosa Vista and Keller Elementary. And then International Baccalaureate available at Summit Academy, K-8, also at our Mesa Academy for Advanced Studies and Westwood High School. And then at the Franklin schools, we call them the Franklins because we have more than one. That is a traditional approach that really focuses on a strong base of phonics and very traditional models of thinking. We have Montessori at Bush, Johnson, and Pomeroy Elementary. And we have an amazing course offerings in terms of world languages, from American Sign Language to Chinese, Navajo, French, German, and Spanish. So I just wanted to make sure that you know where you can find information about what we offer in Mesa Public Schools and also how do we enroll. So I am going to turn this over. I'm going to start with some questions. Mr. Thompson, as I introduced, is our area assistant superintendent for our business services. He's also a parent in our district. He's got two graduates from Mountain View, and he also has a high school student. So the decisions that we're making are very important to him because he, as I said, not only is he an education leader, he's also a parent. And the same with Dr. Mallerwhite, also has children that will be coming to Mesa Public schools. So there is a deep level of investment in the work that we're doing. So, Mr. Thompson, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can talk a little bit about what we're doing with master planning when we focus on our facilities.
Well, thank you, Dr. Forlis. So about a year ago, we actually engaged some folks in a conversation, had some consultants come out and look at all of our facilities and the condition of our facilities so that we had a baseline for this conversation around our facilities. A lot of our facilities in Mesa are aging, and taking care of them is getting more and more expensive. And so we wanted to really understand where we were before we started to figure out where we're going to go. So that work actually was delivered to the governing board at the end of February last year. And not too long after that, the world turned upside down. So we've been a bit on hold since then, and we've been rethinking what we're doing so that we can start to move forward after kind of a COVID land pause, if you will. So we are starting a conversation in the district that is going to really try to rethink the use of our facilities, and that's where we'll intersect with Dr. Mallowine's group as they think about the educational programming for our kids. We'll be focused with my group really on just the condition of the buildings, how many kids are in the schools, the word that the consultants like to use was educational suitability. Are our facilities really ready to deliver on our promise of portrait of a graduate, our strategic plan, and really the environments that kids want to be in and are excited to learn at? We've already done a little bit of this work at, for example, Lehigh Elementary, where we didn't actually change the facility much, but we changed up the furniture and we changed up the way teachers interacted in the building and the way that students interacted with the classroom. And we want to do that throughout the district, and we want to keep that focus on creating an environment that is a little different than what many of us traditionally are used to when we think about the classroom. We want kids working together collaboratively. We want teachers working together collaboratively. And all of that requires facilities that support that kind of work environment. Much like many of us experience in our own work life, very few of us go to work and follow a bell schedule, right? And a lot of us spend our time in conference rooms or meeting with other people, not just sitting in our offices all day. Hopefully, right now we're probably all staring at a WebEx screen or something like that, a Zoom screen, but back to normal and maybe back in person. But that's part of the day too for our kids now, and so we're going to try and integrate technology and different learning opportunities, different ways of approaching school into that and the facilities as well. So that's what my group's going to focus on, and hopefully we'll come up with a really good plan that folks can talk about, think about, and we'll be bringing that to the community. That's important to understand that the work we're doing now isn't the final say. It's just to get it to a place where we can have a conversation with the community about it and get feedback, and so that we can react to that. And one of the things we learned in developing the master plan was that community input was critical. And we actually had a really exciting, fun time going out with our community and engaging them in the process of developing the document that was delivered a year ago. And we want to keep up that interactivity, getting your feedback and understanding what you desire for your students, for our community, and ultimately for the school district.
You know, Mr. Thompson, there's a question that comes up quite a bit when we're talking about making improvements to our schools and bringing them up to the standards that we know that kids need to join the workforce. And that question is generally, where does the money come from to do these projects? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes, absolutely. So, it's really a mixture of several different sources. So the very first source that we have is the bond dollars that the voters passed in 2018. And, we were super excited and pleased that the community saw the need, saw the reason to support us. And those bond dollars don't just go to buildings. They're also supporting the technology one-to-one initiative, which is now district-wide. They're also helping support replacing older buses and getting new buses, all with air conditioning. So that's the first pot of money. It's a large pot, $300 million, but that doesn't get all spent in one year. We'll be spending that over probably about a 4 or 5 year period. And we're doing projects out in the schools in the community right now. But there are also other funding sources. There is an entity called the School Facilities Board, and it's there to help with building renovations that become necessary, aging infrastructure like air conditioning units or roofs that need to be replaced. That's a huge expense throughout the state and also here in Mesa. And so we apply for grants from the School Facilities Board. We've been successful. Several $1 million have flowed into the district through that. We also get a slight amount of capital funds from the state, but those dollars are in competition for a lot of needs, particularly in providing curriculum and textbooks and things like that. People don't always think of that as a capital item, but as it's defined in Arizona, it is. So those are just a couple of the areas that we get funding from. And then, of course, there might be some grants or assistance from community partners and things like that as well.
Thank you so much. I think we'll probably have some more questions come up about those particular projects at schools. So Dr. Mallerwein, I know that today you kicked off, or Mr. Thompson, you kicked off your task force yesterday. And Dr. Mallerwein, you just started yours at 3 o'clock today and are now into this meeting. So could you talk to us a little bit about the work that you and your task force will be doing?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Forlis. Yeah, we just got done meeting. We met from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock today, and it was kind of an intro meeting where we are going to begin to discuss. We're going to look at the programming that currently exists in Mesa Public Schools, and then what we want to do is look at the pathways and how to extend that program to meet the needs of our current students. And as I hope most of you know, 2 years ago we solidified a strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, we are committed to live into the Mesa Public School promise, where we get to know every student by name, strength, and need, so they're ready for college, career, and community. Well, as we live into that promise, we've created 5 essential skills that we want every graduate to walk away from Mesa Public School with, and that's collaborator, communicator, community contributor, creative thinker, innovator, and critical thinker, problem solver. So as we are looking at what programs we currently exist, we want to look through the lens of our strategic plan to make sure that we are going to be able to live into our promise and ensure that we are developing students that not only learn but can think and then communicate and contribute in the community. As we are working through this, we want to provide what we heard from our community through the master plan is that parents wanted choice, students wanted voice, and we want to meet the needs of those and provide options and different opportunities, as well as consistent pathways, so students can go down whatever pathway they are interested in their learning. And that would be academic and career ready. That could be academic, or that could be career and community ready. And that's where our CTE pathways are very important. But we also, as we look at our high schools, we want our students to walk away with not only a high school diploma. We want our high school students to walk away with our high school diploma plus college credits, plus a CTE career ready certification. And we're going to look at our programming to funnel through our strategic plan and produce to create human beings that are ready to go out into the city of Mesa and contribute at a high level and support the needs of the industry that we know are operating and help strengthen the economy in Mesa, in the city of Mesa. So that's a little bit about where the programming committee is going to go on. We know that the master plan created a ton of really usable data. My committee is going to sit through that data, so we know what the community members and the teachers and the students that participated in these I guess what were these focus groups, and we could hear their voices as we look to design and continue the program pathways. So thank you, Dr. Forlis.
Absolutely. And Dr. Mallerwine, can you give an example when you talk about pathways? Some parents might be thinking of different ideas in their mind. Can you give an example of a pathway that we currently have that we have heard that families and students would like to see extended?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we have Hermosa Vista and we have Keller, and we both have a dual language immersion program there. What we're hearing from community members, and we have also identified this internally, is that what does that pathway look like for grade 7 and grade 8? Hermosa Vista and Keller both are K-6 environments. Well, we need to create an opportunity for the students that are interested in carrying through this pathway. So what that would look like is students are going to walk out of grade 6 with a certain level of what we have is Spanish, a certain speaking, reading, and writing level of Spanish. And we would want to continue that immersion into grade 7, 8, and then into high school. And what does that look like in 7 and 8? That could look something like students learning their social studies in the language of Spanish, students learning their math in the language of Spanish. So not only are students learning Spanish, they're learning how to they're learning how to learn in Spanish, which is a really critical skill if we want our students to go on and be able to operate in a career where Spanish may be a necessity. Well, the next step to that is, what does that look like when we move into high school? We don't want to finalize something as valuable as learning a dual language in 8th grade. So we're going to look like, what does that look like in high school? And that could look like our freshmen coming in and getting what is now Spanish 3, like which would be junior year Spanish, which we could offer an AP Spanish at that level. And then the next level would be the second year of AP Spanish. And then we move into more of a cultural class where students may go in and learn Spanish at a deeper level, and then they may go abroad on a special trip where they really can immerse themselves in a language. And so the possibilities of this is endless, and hopefully people can see the benefit of this. As we know, our world has expanded, and the opportunity to be able to operate and learn and work in a two language environment can be very valuable for a student moving forward. Another really critical pathway that we have is we have our Summit Academy and we have our Mesa Academy, which both operate what can be easily described as a pre-IB curriculum. That is preparing students to go to Westwood and get an IB degree, and that is a very rigorous high school degree that opens some different academic doors into post-secondary education. So that's just two of the programs that we have, but we are looking to extend pathways, enrich the pathways, but also provide choice. One of the other big conversations that we are having is we are a very large district, and we have kind of an east side and a west side of the district. Well, we know equity is one of our strategic goals. We want to make sure every student has every opportunity, regardless of where they live, regardless of socioeconomic status. So if we have a program on the east side of town, we want to look and say, where can that program go on the west side so students can get there very quickly, and they have all the choices available to them that they would have no matter where they live in the city of Mesa or in the Mesa Public Schools boundaries. So that's just a little bit about what the program committee is going to be doing. But it's exciting time for Mesa, and I'm proud to be a community member and to be an employee.
Thank you, Dr. Malawine. And I think it's really important to make sure that everybody knows there are no limits on the ideas. So he just shared two examples of current programs that we have that need to be extended. But our mind is not fixed. We are looking for what programs need to be in place in Mesa Public Schools to prepare our kids for the future. And so we've got a question that came in, and this one's for you, Mr. Thompson. Will you update or rebuild our really old buildings? I think that is a question that you hear time and time again. Hot seat is yours.
Okay, well that's a really important question, and something that partly what we were looking for from the original work of the consultants on our master plan work was to see, was there a building that or a campus that really was in need of what we affectionately call scrape and replace. And the good news was that no, none of our buildings stood out so intensely that we said, oh, there's the place we need to start. The bad part is nobody stood out and said that was the place we need to start. So we're looking to that to find the criteria by which we would make those decisions. And so we have a sense of what the buildings are, but what can the buildings be? And again, some of that isn't necessarily about changing the physical building, but just changing the environment for the kids and the way they interact and flow throughout the building. So there's lots of options, and that is the heart of the work that we'll be doing, is to try to identify. I do anticipate at some point there will be some campuses that will be rebuilt for sure. But I couldn't tell you who that is today. So no secrets here. We haven't defined that yet, but we're working on it.
Can you give a little bit of an update of, you're doing some really great work at Mountain View and Mesa high schools right now. And can you talk to us a little bit about if you're a high school family, what you can be expecting?
Yeah, two really exciting projects that we talk a little bit about building the plane while we fly it around here, right? So we're in the process of continuing to evolve this master plan for the district, but we knew that, and it was quickly identified at our high schools. They're very large. They have a lot of kids. They have a lot of offerings as a result. So there's a lot of pluses, but there's some challenges to that. And one of it is that the facilities aren't adequate for some of the things we'd like to deliver. So Mesa and Mountain View came up high on the list of areas that we needed to address. And so with that, we re-engaged that community in kind of another master planning of just their own campuses. And what we did was invite them to be in a conversation with us, with architects, on what the campus could really look like. Now, keep in mind that this is refreshing the entire campus. And I think on both campuses, the total cost was like $90+ million. We don't have those kind of bond dollars to spend on those campuses at this time. So we took about a third of that, and we're engaged in massive projects on those campuses. At Mountain View, what that looks like, and this is with truly this had staff involved, kids involved, community involved process. So I'm really proud of the transparency and the openness we had in the process. And where they landed is the main academic building is going to be rethought inside. So it's a very large building. If you've been on our campuses, there's several of them, Red Mountain, Mesa, and Mountain View. They have this really big building. I always laugh because it's in a hole. But but it's a really big structure that most of our academic classrooms are in on those high schools, and same classrooms that have been there for 30 years. So we're reimagining what those buildings can do for us at Mountain View, and they're rethinking the library, the classrooms, the space the kids interact with, the front office. It's going to be a whole new experience for kids. It's really exciting. They're thinking about we're gonna address the fine arts. Mountain View is well known for being a fine arts focused high school. So the performing arts building is going to get rethought and reimagined, because one of the things that we realized is we have enough classroom at our high schools, but when we moved the ninth grade up to our high schools, we didn't have all the extra things that high schools need. What does that look like? Well, that looks like practice space for fine arts, for musical instruments. That looks like additional athletic space for wrestling and weight rooms. And just because of the volume of kids, they all have these things on all of our campuses have these things, but some of them just weren't large enough for the amount of kids that are using them. So we're rethinking all of that. At Mountain View, we're also going to be placing artificial turf on our athletic fields. That's actually going to happen at all our high schools, but we're starting with Mesa, Mountain View, and Red Mountain this summer, and then next year we'll get to the other 3 high schools. Why are we doing that? Because one, it's good for saving water and some of those things, but primarily it's because our schools are big, and those facilities, that field is used all the time. And we have a hard time just growing grass on it because the kids are just constantly either bands on it or soccer's on it or football's on it, and so we quickly saw that we need to get to an artificial turf where it's 24/7 access. You can be on it all day long and there's no restriction. I think that's really going to help our schools schedule, plan, and use those facilities better. So we're doing a lot of great work at Mountain View. At Mesa, pivoted in a little different direction. Rethought an entire plan for the campus, rethought the entire way that that campus might be put back together, because one of the things that we saw is that buildings have gone up over the years, but maybe nobody really thought about how that was going to look. And so now sometimes kids are, running from one end of the classroom to the next side of the building to get from one class to the next, and it's all the way across the side of the campus. So we're rethinking that. We're going to be really focused on putting up a new science and technology building there, which is going to focus on some of those career and technical programs, as well as some of our science and bioscience classes. So a whole new building for that. In fact, today you can go to the campus and see they're actually moving some of the athletic fields to make way for the building. All these things happen in stages while kids are there. They're also going to be seeing some changes to the area around the gymnasium and that athletics. The academic building's going to see some changes. And the one big challenge that we have at Mesa High is their front office is in the middle of the campus. And so it creates a security concern because people have to walk on campus before they're actually checked in, as we like to do on all of our campuses. So we're going to move the front office to a different place on the campus so that people can be appropriately worked with, and then they can get on the campus safely when it's appropriate. So all of these things are going to happen over the next 2 summers. So this is a work in progress. We got to work around the kids, make sure there's still space for education to be occurring. And we're real excited about both of those major projects that are going on right now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson. Those are huge projects and a huge undertaking, and I really appreciate all the involvement that the community has had in both of those. I have to tell you that not all of the projects that are being done throughout our district are big like that. So today I was at Shepherd Junior High, and I just have to say the redesign of their cafeteria and auditorium is absolutely beautiful and really creates a warm, welcoming environment to students, but also a great place for their amazing choir and drama program in the auditorium. So another example of how the facilities and programming work well hand in hand. So we've got one question, and this one's about turf. And so I want to hand this over to you, Mr. Thompson, and then we'll probably be wrapping up in the next couple minutes. Does turf have issues with the Arizona heat? You may have been asked that once or twice before.
Absolutely. So I love that question because I have not been a fan of turf. I'm the first person to say I don't want to do turf, and it's taken me a while to get there. And what I would say is, after being educated and looking at some of the fields that are out here in Arizona schools, I always worry about, everybody knows plastic in Arizona doesn't last very long because our UV rays are very intense and it breaks down. So, these fields are basically kind of plastic. At some level, they're made out of those same materials. So that the science to these things has just completely blown up, and they're amazing. And I even worry about it. I've seen NFL teams where they get tackled, and you see the big black cloud of what is basically recycled rubber tires, right? And that doesn't seem like a lot of fun to me either. I used to play football, but the new fields look a lot more like grass, and they have these infills that are made out of organic materials, not rubber or anything, but actually made out of like different things of coconut husk and rice and different combinations. And what's really exciting about them is that when you water them, they actually bring the temperature of the field down 10 degrees. And that sounds like a huge sales pitch, but we actually went over to Higley and some of the other districts that have some of these fields, and they said they have measured the temperature of their fields after they've watered them. When it's 110 out, they can get it down to 100 degrees. So that's good for our athletes too. So the technology of these fields has really, really exponentially increased over just the last few years. And it's gotten to the point, at least for me, who's kind of a skeptic on artificial turf, to say, yeah, this is the time for us to jump in, because again, we want that 24/7 access. It's about kids having opportunities. That's what's really important about these fields and why we're doing turf.
And we thank you, Mr. Thompson. I'm glad that you shared your own skepticism. We do have a question around: are the temperatures safe for kids? I think from what you just shared, that answer is yes. But I want to make sure that we answer that, pose that question to you.
We can actually, these fields can actually cool down, cool themselves down. So we will water them before the kids are on them. It'll create that, most of us are familiar in Arizona with that evaporative cooler effect, right? You put water out, it evaporates, it cools in the air. Way more effective probably in June than August, but still going to have a effect of cooling the fields down. So I feel comfortable that they will be safe for kids. Yes.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. And I think that it's a great celebration to see the work moving ahead in Mesa Public Schools, and that really our message to our community and to our staff that are watching today is that while we have been immersed in trying to figure out how to educate children to the very best of our abilities during a pandemic, we have not stopped thinking about what the future needs to be. And so we are very committed to moving forward, and we are putting great teams of people together, thinking big thoughts about how we can best serve the Mesa community and our children. So I'd like to say thank you to both of you, Mr. Thomas and Dr. Mallerwein. A lot of work will be continuing, and we will be continuing to provide updates to our community. So have a wonderful afternoon, and I thank you very much for your time, and thank all of you who joined us today on Facebook Live. Have a good
Thanks,
evening.
everyone.